Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mrs. Mouse's Masterful Lunches, the lecture series. I'm so tickled by myself. Anyway, so this part, we are talking about protein. So that I talk about protein, and the next videos would be carbs and vegetables. And then the last video, maybe not the last video, but after that, practical ways of replacing the bad with the good. So trying to give you some practical stuff, because I know how overwhelming it can be, and I hope I'm not overwhelming you, because I know you're about to have a baby and I'm sending you all this stuff, but it'll be here when you need it. So okay, so protein. I think at this point it goes without saying that I suggest buying only organic. So everything I'm talking about, organic, grass-fed, cage-free, all that good stuff. So the healthiest protein, some of the healthiest, is white meats, which would be chicken, turkey. I don't know where you're at with fish. I hate fish, so I kind of disregard that. But I know it's considered certain types of fish. I think wild-caught salmon or something is considered a white meat. I think so. If you're into fish, you can look that up. But I know that there's a fish in there somewhere. So my favorite is chicken, because it's super versatile. Don't know about that one. Anyway, oh, and I don't have Clemmy with me today, but I do have this guy. He's my, instead of my muse, he's my mouse. There's Mrs. Mousy. Okay, anyway, so chicken is great because you can do a ton with it. You can serve it as just a chicken breast, or it's super easy to dice it up for stir fries and stuff like that. So it's also some of the cheapest meat you can buy. So what I do is I buy boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and usually they have them in some sort of pallet. And so what I do is I buy, for any given week, I'll buy 6 chicken breasts. And what I do is I'll use 3 whole chicken breasts per recipe that I make. I think I explained this in my folder too, kind of how I size out or portion out the meat. So 3 chicken breasts per recipe. And what I do is I slice the chicken breasts in half lengthwise. So if Mousie's a chicken breast, I slice it this way to make them thinner. And then each half is basically 1 serving size of chicken. So if you buy 3 chicken breasts, you slice them all in half lengthwise, then you would go down to, or you would go to 6 chicken breasts, technically. And that's good for about 3 meals between you and Aaron, because there's 2 of you. I hope that all made sense. If it doesn't, you can ask me. Or if maybe I'm trying to over-explain something that you're like, yeah, hold on, I get it. I can do basic math. So, yes. So, chicken you want to cook to, the common understanding is 165 degrees. Matthias said he heard some professional cook or whatever say how they get juicier meat in chicken in restaurants is they cook it to 155 or 160, and then it kind of cooks. I don't know if you've seen this with bacon, but in my experience, when I pull bacon out, it continues to cook after a while, even though it's out of the oven. So apparently chicken does the same thing. I'm a little freaked out to do that, so I've been cooking it to 160, and no one's gotten sick yet, so you can experiment with that. But the longer you cook chicken, the drier it gets. So, I guess the hotter it gets, the drier it gets. So you don't want to be cooking it to 170 or 180, because then you're going to end up with some dry chicken. Okay. Turkey is another white meat. Turkey is great. It's ground turkey. They sell it. I think Foster Farm sells it, but I don't know if that's organic. I haven't found organic turkey yet, because I've been buying organic for 3 weeks now. But it's a great substitute for ground beef. It's often cheaper than ground beef too, because beef is kind of the more expensive one. So ground turkey is great. In my opinion, it's a little gamier than beef or chicken. I don't know. It's just, the consistency is slightly different. So what I like to do is I like to use it for sauces or soups or things where it blends in more instead of just straight up turkey. And I don't really, the next level for me is to buy a whole chicken and to cook it and to use all the pieces and then make chicken stock with the bones. I have not done any of that, but I imagine you could do that with turkey too, so you could get white meat that way instead of just buying ground turkey, which probably isn't. Ground turkey can be a little gross, but I mean when it's raw. When it's cooked, it's great. Anyway, so yes, if you're into fish, look up the fish options. So for red meat, the only red meat I buy is beef. I'm assuming bison or veal or lamb. I'm assuming those are red meats too. I don't know. But when I say red meat, I really just mean cow. So beef is great. It's high in iron, which is great, but it is considered more of an inflammatory food. So it's something that you want in moderation. And depending on what your body's telling you to have more or less of it. But it's the most expensive meat that I buy. Especially if you're buying cuts of meat where it looks like a steak or a roast. I never buy steak or roasts. I think it's because mentally I think it's just so expensive. I need to actually look at the prices and see if it's actually as expensive as I think it is. But I generally just buy ground beef. It's not the best. Well, I mean, you can do a lot with ground beef. Steak is great. So maybe I should look into how expensive that actually is, because I'm depriving my family of steak. Anyway, so what I do, so I told you I buy 6 chicken breasts and how I cut them in half so that basically each chicken breast equals 2 servings. So what I'll do is I'll buy a pellet of chicken, basically, of 6 chicken breasts, and then I buy 2 pounds of ground beef a week. And so then we'll have 2 recipes be chicken recipes, and then we'll have 1 recipe be beef, and then I do 1 recipe where I try and not do any meat, just because it's expensive. Meat is pricey, but it's okay. We're feeding our bodies and nourishing them, and it's worth the investment. Plus, if your husband's like mine, he gets cranky if there's not meat, so 1 recipe without meat is about as much as I can get away with. Any hoosies. So that's beef. Good for you, but you don't want to be eating it on the daily because it can be too much for your body. Okay, so pork. Pork is cheap, which is nice. So if I'm doing a roast, I usually go with pork. The only thing is that, not the only thing, but it's very fatty and kind of greasy. So we always have upset tummies when we're eating a pork roast. It's so yummy, but it's just a lot for your body, and your liver doesn't know how to handle all that fat. So I kind of save pork for every once in a while, maybe once a month I buy some pork. Bacon and sausage. So we talked about this today on the phone. No nitrates, which I know you know that. So bacon is a treat. It's basically the cake of meat. So yeah, having it all the time is not gonna make your body happy, but it's fine as a treat. Sausage, I don't actually know as much about sausage. I'm assuming it's more like bacon than not, as far as how healthy it is. But you can look it up. Chicken sausage is a great alternative to sausage if you're, just need sausage for a soup or something. In my opinion, chicken sausage is great for, like, the jambalaya that I recommended you sub the chicken sausage in for. When it has other things and it can kind of pick up other flavors. But if you're making something like bratwursts or something where you want to you know, Italian sausage with pasta, something where you really want to focus. It's the sausage's time to shine. I wouldn't really go with chicken sausage because it's not very shiny. Anyway, so those are the meats. And then we just talked about nitrates. It's a carcinogen, which is a word for cancer causing. Love that. Love to hear that that's in food. And it sneaks into most processed meats. So bacon, sausage, deli meat usually has nitrates. But I'm assuming that your Walmart is probably, or Super One will have good options. But if you're shopping at Walmart, there's probably going to be one brand of nitrate-free deli meat. I'm assuming that because that's kind of how Winco is. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Read the labels. That's the takeaway. Read the labels. Okie dokie. I think that's it for protein. I'm on a roll, so I'm going to do carbs next. Stay tuned. Stay tuned!